One of my friends, Gerald, he goes by Based in the Plants on here. And he was talking about his time behind bars when he spent a good amount of time in prison. And he said, these people in prison, these people behind bars, he said, it's a lot of guys with nothing but time on their hands. He said, think about what that means. He said, think about what that means. He said, these are just people. He said, I thought, the conceptual, the thing you think you're in there with just a bunch of, from the outside looking in, murderers, rapists, and arsonists, and drug addicts, and people, and whatever, right? But he said, no, I'm just in there with people. He said, when I was behind bars, when I was in prison, I realized I was in there with people with nothing but time on their hands. He said, think about what that means. What do you do when all you have is time? How do you retain the sanity of your mind when all you have is time? Nothing to distract yourself, right? Nothing to take you away. Nothing to escape the reality of the day. Time is just ticking away, right? What do you do? And I realized that there were certain times in my life where you end up realizing there's a lot more time in a day than you thought. You ever notice that? They say time flies when you're having fun. You heard that, right? You've heard that before, right? Time flies when you're having fun. But what about the days that are long? Right? Back when I was in boarding school in Calhoun, Tennessee, we had some long days out there. Because I wasn't doing what I wanted, I wasn't dancing around like Pocahontas. Those are some long days. Out there in the field, raking the leaves, carrying the logs up the hill, right? Cleaning, wiping down windows and doing all sorts of stuff that they wanted me to do. Washing dishes for the entire dormitory. All the boys in there was washing the dishes. And that's where I learned how to love washing dishes, right? It became a meditation. Because I had to let go of all my frustration. Even washing dishes became a meditation. Even washing dishes was like relaxation. But what do you do with all that time when you have nothing but time? So this is what happened when I stopped eating, when I stopped eating solid food and I went on a liquid journey, I went on a solid food vacation. I realized, okay, I'm not really, thinking about food. I'm not going to get food. I'm not buying the food. I'm not bringing the food. I'm not cooking the food. I'm not eating the food. I'm not digesting the food. I'm not cleaning the dishes. All these things I'm not doing that were actually taking up a lot of time that I didn't even know. I didn't even know how much time it was taking. With all the food I was making, I had no idea all the time it was taking. So now what are you left with? Time. Nothing but time. What do you do with all that time? Now, on top of the time that you now have, you've reclaimed, right? You also have an abundance of energy, right? On no substance. So you're not standing in line at Starbucks for the caffeine, but now you're just an energy machine, right? Now you know what I mean? You have all this energy in abundance, this thing that we're looking for called energy. Now it's within you. And what do you do when you're up late at night, just awake, eyes open, and you cannot go to sleep? You've gone through the whole day, you've had nothing to eat, and you're up all night, and you can't go to sleep. What do you do with all that energy and all that time on your hands? I'll tell you what you do. If you're like any sane, any rational human being, you go downstairs and you make yourself a plate and you eat to put yourself back to sleep. And that's what many of us do. I did it for years. I would eat to go to sleep. I was eating in the wee hours of the morning when the moon was up and the sun was down. I was chowing down. I was eating, right? Even if I felt like my energy was depleting, I had to go to sleep, so I kept on eating. So I kept on feeding. But when there's nothing to suppress, there's nothing to calm down that stress when it comes to consumption, what do? Who do you run to? Where do you go? How do you find balance and even more flow? What do you do with the time on your hands? Do you fall back or do you just stand? Right? Do you say, I can't do this? Or maybe I can. The life that you choose, is that your demand? It's all in your hands, right? It's always divine. But the difference we make is what we do with our time. When we free up the body, we free up the mind. Don't take my word. You'll see your own signs, right? You'll know fairly quickly if you're addicted. Once you cross that threshold that's been restricted.